After the revelations yesterday that the man accused of murdering the children in Southport has also been charged with a separate terror offence, the Labour Party have sought to distance himself from this. This has come after millions across the country have wondered why this information has been kept from us, as well as what else the government is hiding. Robert Jenrick summed up the mood of the country. He's increasingly taking the mantle of Farage, given he's gone quite quiet. He said, "We were told for months that this was not a terror-related incident, and yet we have learned that this individual, the suspect, was allegedly reading Al-Qaeda manuals and had access to dangerous substances like ricin." They want us to believe that they only became aware of these details very recently. They've been in the dark like us, apparently. But does anybody believe what Keir Starmer and the Labour Party say anymore? They've been extremely biased throughout this situation, more than willing to throw people in jail for years for tweets, and then when people do it on the other side, they completely ignore it. Similarly, they've been highly critical of anybody speculating that this may have something to do with mass immigration and multiculturalism being an utter failure in the UK. Maybe that's why they're essentially trying to criminalise dissenting opinion. That may also explain why I hadn't heard of this story. I don't know if you saw it. I keep my eyes open for these sorts of things, but I only heard about it today. A man has been charged with attempted murder after a woman and 2 children were stabbed in East London. The woman, who was in her 30s, an 8-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy, were all found suffering stab injuries. The accused is a Kulvinder Ram. That's a name of Indian origin, I believe. I don't know anything about his religious beliefs. As I've said before on this channel, when terrible situations like this happen in the modern UK, they barely even make the news cycle. Now, we're warned on an almost daily basis by our mainstream media about the looming threat of the far right that's coming to attack everybody, but it doesn't seem to be them that's stabbing children. Of course, if it was someone on the right who loved his country who did something like this, do you think our mainstream media would bury the story? We all know if that happened, the BBC, Sky News, The Guardian, Keir Starmer would talk about it endlessly. It would be 24/7 news for weeks. And while they accuse us of using tragedies for our quote-unquote political agenda, when we notice that many of the crimes these days don't tend to be coming from traditionally British people, the Starmers and the BBCs of the world would be more than happy to use a story like that for their own political agenda. We all know they'd use something like that to shut down any dissenting voices on the right. Remember, when they say don't use notable events for your political agenda, what they mean is don't notice what's happening, listen to the government narrative and what the mainstream media says. When you look at the situation we're in the UK, you do question whether we're being governed or whether we're occupied by a set of globalists who are completely detached from reality and real people and completely lost in their own ideological dictates. Case in point, as Chancellor Rachel Reeves prepares to give her first budget, which she states is going to change the UK for years, i.e. that means tax the hell out of us, waste a load of money in the NHS as usual, spend a load of money on woke government dictates and destroy the economy, she thought it would be a good idea to replace the picture of the old Tory Chancellor Nigel Lawson, he served under Margaret Thatcher, he's Nigella Lawson's father famously, with a picture of the Communist Party co-founder. I mean, these stories are so absurd, some of them are hard to believe. When you're already facing accusations that you're a totalitarian leftist government, you might not want the optics of putting up a picture of a founder of the Communist Party of Britain. But it seems the Labour Party type don't really think about the country or the public or how things are going to be received. They simply follow the globalist dictates that I mentioned before. They do what's correct according to the BBC and Davos types. Yet things aren't going that well for two-tier Keir, despite enjoying a small bump when he came in office. Since then his net approval rating has absolutely plummeted and continues to with every passing day. But it's ironic, isn't it, how concerned Keir Starmer's been about misinformation, given he's peddled quite a bit of that himself. I wonder if he'll have himself arrested and thrown in jail for a couple of years. Wouldn't hold your breath there, hey? Do let me know what you think down below and do consider subscribing to the channel if you know.